Hello and good day, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode with another amazing change maker. And yes, I say it, and it's honest truth. This is a beautiful soul, Michelle Shaeffer. She and I have been friends for a few years, and now she is my business coach because, you know, I understand the spiritual and the woo-woo and the angels and all of those pieces really well. And this beautiful lady, I'm not going to get into her story too much. She is absolutely beyond amazing. If she could figure out how to do what she does from a small town in Alaska, I figured she could help me, who's definitely not in anybody's box. She's also known as the blogger, the girl blogger next door, and that's how she got started pretty much. And now she's doing so many amazing things. One of her claims to fame is she is what's considered an icon in podcasting. She is also an incredibly intuitive empath, and she has written 42 blogs in one day. One day. That is incredible. So welcome to Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS, and please welcome our amazing guest, Michelle Shaeffer. Hello, gorgeous, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the podcast.
So please tell us more about you and what it is you do.
All right. So, to start with what you shared there, I started my business quite a while ago from a tiny little town in Alaska. I had to learn online marketing because that was basically the only choice from where I was at. And over the years, I've kind of grown it from a very small, very, very small start as a virtual assistant into what I do now. Went through a lot of transitions and phases and kind of had to learn to, as the title of your podcast is, follow that inner GPS and figure out what's next, where do I go from here. And what I do now is I work with a lot of spiritual and sensitive business owners like yourself and help coach them on the more strategic side of how do you get your business out there in a bigger way? What pieces do you put in place to build it into the business you really want to create?
And it's really, it sounds simple and complicated, and it's so much more than that, because how do you, I'm understanding how you do it, but I'm asking you to explain more to our viewers. How is it you do some of that? Because most spiritual entrepreneurs, it's really hard to fit into mainstream, and yet that's the avenue, that's the channel that we have to work with. So how do you make it not so, oh my goodness, yucky, sticky, just beyond, can't touch it?
So I think there's a lot of pieces to that, and what it really comes down to is whether it's business or life, there's a lot of us that don't feel like we fit into the box that maybe society wants to put us inside of. And part of it is really just looking at that and saying, it doesn't matter if I fit into the box. I can do this my way. I can make it work. I'm going to work with who I am, what I have, and do this in a way that feels good. Because business doesn't have to feel like you're stuck in a box, like you're surrounded by numbers and spreadsheets. And it doesn't have to feel icky to get out there and sell people on what you do. You can do it in ways that are just making an invitation for people to decide to work with you. And you can approach it from a totally different way than most people are taught. And when you do it that way, it can feel good, and it can really feel good to your clients as well.
Absolutely. Now, let's peel back the curtain just a little bit.
Okay.
Because you didn't arrive at this point overnight. No matter what people think they see, and it's not about airing your dirty laundry, not nobody's laundry. It's just when people see you now, it's like, oh my gosh, she's got it all together. And you do. And, there's days. Everybody has days. But you are a sensitive empath. You are an intuitive. So how did you get from that tiny little town in Alaska and being on stage and helping launch, like Joel Bauer, for example, one word at a time, please. How did you get to not hiding?
That is a great question. Thinking about the best way to answer that, There's been so many moments along the way where you and I know from personal discussion, uh, my tendency, if somebody wanted to find me in preschool or kindergarten, I was probably hiding under a desk or a table or inside one of those cubes or under a beanbag chair. I was somewhere that nobody could see me. And that was something that part of my personality continued all the way through, elementary school, junior high. I remember we used to have discussions about if you could have a superpower, what would it be? I always said I would like the power of invisibility so that I could disappear. And I think sometimes when we are sensitive to the world around us, it's hard. You want to hide because being visible means dealing with things that aren't always easy, and stepping into a space where others may criticize you, others may make judgments about you, others may say things, and that can be hard to handle. And then there's also the side of it of the responsibility that comes with it. What if you step out into that bigger space and what you share doesn't work for somebody, or you're not able to help the people the way you want to help them? And so there's so many different layers to work through when it comes to that. But I think the thing that made the biggest difference for me was when I connected that it wasn't about me, because it's easy to be kind of in our own little universe and thinking about how we feel and how overwhelming or scary it is. But when we realize we're here on the planet for a reason, and that reason is bigger than us, it's more of a responsibility to get out there despite how we feel. And I think we misunderstand what bravery is. Bravery isn't never being afraid. It's really just doing it even though you are afraid. Courage is doing it even though you feel that fear, and just saying there's something more important than the fear that I feel. Because we've talked about this before, the first time that I was on an actual stage in a room, before I went on stage, I was in the bathroom puking my guts up because I was so scared to go on stage. But we all have those moments in life where we can make the decision, am I going to hide right now? Or am I going to just go do it because I know there's a bigger purpose here and there's a reason I need to do it. It's not about me. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
How did you, I understand how to separate the two. Our viewers probably, some of them do, some of them don't. How did you work through even one piece of that? It's not about me. Because as an empath, as a sensitive, when you feel so much all the time, I would dare to say that most, and I learned it myself because all of a sudden it's like, whoa, 30 seconds ago I was doing really good, and now I've got this crinkly face. Oh, I walked through somebody's stuff. And so how did you figure out to separate what really was your stuff and it's not about you? I mean, it's huge and we may not be able to get through all of it, but can you just share one piece of it with us?
Sure. So, I think when it comes to anything like that, there's really a couple different aspects to it. There's the energetic aspect of learning how to control your space and control your emotions and your feelings, and being able to sometimes logic yourself through it to a certain degree. And then there's the other side of it, of really being able to step out of that and look at it kind of from a third party perspective. So there's all of those little things that we learn about how to protect ourselves, how to focus ourselves. I think one of the biggest things that helped me was somebody, one time actually before I went to speak, another time I was really nervous and we were doing some work and they said, so how do you feel? I said, I feel like there's butterflies in my stomach. I feel like I'm a mess. So like, well, how do you feel when you're excited? Okay, fine. Same feeling. I feel like there's butterflies in my stomach. So reframing that and going, okay, I can choose to see this as I feel like I need to run to the bathroom, or I could choose to see it as I'm really excited to go do this. So some of it's about how do we choose to experience what we are feeling physically and really making that decision. No, I choose to feel this way. And some of it is just about the logical side of it. And one of the quotes that a mentor I work with says a lot is, no matter how you feel, even when you don't feel your best, you show up and you give your best. And I thought that's a really good reminder, because it's easy, especially when you're sensitive, to get stuck in those feelings. There's days that I get up and I don't feel like doing certain things. And it would be easy to say, you know what, I'm sick today, or I don't feel well, or this is going on. and excuse myself from it. But if I just remember, even when I don't feel my best, I'm here to show up and do my best, to give my best to the people that are waiting for me to help them. That helps me to kind of shift through it and stay focused on what I feel like my mission is.
That really makes a lot of sense, because so many of the people that I speak with, whether we work together or not, it's all about they want to make a difference. They want to fulfill
Yeah.
their purpose. And how do they do that? Well, one of those ways is to do exactly what you just shared with us. And it is about getting out of your own way so that you can show up and make a difference. Because when you're making a difference in other people's lives, you make one in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's very, very true. It's interesting to look back when you're able to shift out of that and just get the things done. It's interesting to look back and see how far you've come when you just put that focus on show up, be of service,
Mm-hmm.
deliver value. Um, you get a lot of things done that you might never think you could. Like if you ask me of 10 years ago, if I ever would have been on some of the stages I've been on, or doing some of the things I've done in business, or working with some of the clients I work with, I probably would have laughed at you and said, there's no way. Nope, that won't ever happen. But it's just been about consistently taking those steps forward. And I haven't been the fastest. Like I'm not some overnight success that exploded onto the scene. It's been a long process. I've been in business 18 years. And it's been just a daily, okay, every day making that choice. This is what I want to do, and keep going with it. Even on the days where you say that out loud and everything inside says, no, it's not what you want to do anymore, you just keep going.
Yeah,
I'm sure other people have had those days.
Yes, and if they say no, they have none, we'll just leave it at that. Well, if they have none, then that means they're not listening to this, because they're on a mountaintop underneath the Bodhi tree and never have any contact with any humans whatsoever. Then it might be possible.
One of those quotes that the first time I read it, I was like, that's crazy. And then I went, oh, this makes sense, is Mario Andretti, the race car driver, says, if it feels like you've got everything under control, you're just not going fast enough. That is a great perspective on business. Because if everything's under control, you really aren't moving forward fast enough in your business. It's when it starts to feel a little chaotic that you know you're actually growing, you're actually going somewhere bigger. So
Thank
I
you
try
for
to
that reminder.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, because some days it's like, okay, I'm not sure where the control went. I'm not trying to be in control. It is like, I'm not sure where the manageability went. It's not out of control. However, hello. So what, I know you no longer live in Alaska, and you kind of, you're not bouncing, but you get to travel a lot. So how do you manage that and everything else you do?
So yeah, a couple of years ago, I decided to go sort of digital nomad, I guess you could say. I do travel a lot. I do bounce around from place to place, which is great in terms of getting to see different areas and really enjoying different travels, because I do enjoy that part, but it can be a little bit challenging business wise. I carry 4 different ways to connect to the internet in my computer bag. But it's been really cool in being able to prove that, as you know, I went down to Central America for a while. I was able to run my business from Central America while I was traveling. And it's, for me, really rewarding to realize that what I've built gives me that freedom. That as long as I've got my computer, I've got, a microphone, I've got Wi-Fi, I can run my business from basically anywhere. And that's, I think, something really cool about having put the time in to build what I've got, that now it allows me that freedom. And that's something that I think a lot of people, that's really their goal, to create, is that business that supports the lifestyle they want. So knowing what your big goal is really important, so that you can build towards it. Like the type of business structure I have, I don't have to be in an office, or I don't have to be in a certain place. I've intentionally set things up where almost everything I do is digital like this, or virtual, so that I can run it from anywhere.
I love that. And it does give you so much freedom because you can be at a conference or being on vacation because we're not, I have to be careful about this. You don't want to be doing a whole lot while you're on vacation, but in case something comes up, you need to be able to connect in some ways like, okay, somebody's having a meltdown or whatever, and hopefully not during your vacation time. However, even going on a personal retreat where you might just connect for an hour or two a day and then have the rest of the time. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it's a fantastic business model. I tell people all the time, I'm so grateful that I was born into this particular time in world history, not just because of, the digital business option that we have, but I mean, I can push a button on my phone and they'll bring me food or bring me Uber or whatever it is. It's fantastic. I love the time that I live in.
And we wouldn't be able to do this if we were not in this digital virtual age. So what is a favorite way or a favorite client result that you'd like to share with our viewers, beautiful?
That's a great question. I think that's one of my favorite things about what I do, especially when I get to work with clients longer term. So over the course of months or a year or longer, to really see the evolution that happens, both in terms of their personal growth and in terms of their business growth. Because a coach that I've worked with before used to say, if you want to get into personal development and grow as a person, just start a business. And it's so incredibly true, because you are constantly breaking through one limiting belief and one mindset block after another and really pushing to see what you're actually capable of. And that's what I love most about working with my clients, is watching that shift and how they start to respond to things. Where when I first started working with different clients, they'll respond certain ways, like, oh, no, I can't do that. Or, little things will set them off and they'll spiral. And then 6 months later, it's, yes, of course I can do that. Or somebody said this and didn't throw me off at all today. And I love seeing that growth happen in clients in their business, because that's when they're able to get out there in such a big way and really help more people with what they do.
So this question just came through. It's like, okay, I'm being guided to ask you what kinds of clients, and I mean, because of the work you do, you can really work with just about any niche for them, and it's not about you work with anybody no matter what. You are selective because it still has to be a match energetically, right? It has to be that. But the work that you help others do isn't, you are focused and it's a narrow but deep field, but what they do doesn't have to be what you do. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. So I think one thing that makes me different from a lot of business coaches is really the way that I approach what I do with clients, because I do work with clients in a wide variety of business types. I'm not specialized in terms of, I'll only work with you if you are a specific type of coach or if you run a specific type of service business. It's more a certain type of entrepreneur that I tend to work with, which is somebody who is very mission driven. They're very purpose focused, and they want to build a business that matches the lifestyle they want to create. And it's really more about, this is what I'm here to do. Help me get it out there. Because the pieces I work with most are, okay, let's look at who is it that you want to reach? How do we get in front of them? Not in a cookie cutter, here's your 10-point marketing plan way, but more in a, what are your gifts? How do we work those into your marketing in a way that gets you excited about it, so you feel good about it? And how do we grow based on that? And really looking at how to do business in a way that works with people's natural personality and their natural gifts, versus just giving everybody a blueprint and saying, hey, go do these 5 million things and you'll suddenly be successful, because nobody ever gets the 5 million things done.
And even if you get 4.5 million done, which I never got quite that far, because it works for a lot of people, otherwise it wouldn't be working. Mm-hmm. Those of us who are sensitive or empaths and intuitives, whatever label we want to put on our spiritual side of things, and some of it is counterintuitive or counter to what we're here to do. And yet you've helped me and others like me to blend the structures that we have with where we need to, not only what we need to be doing, but okay, that's a different word, fashioning or molding to fit the person that you're working with, to help them fit into the mainstream so that it's still not just comfortable, still a bit stretching, but
Right.
it works to really help get them out there, which a lot of us are like, I have to do what? I used to be that way a while back. So I have to do what? I can't
totally
hide.
get it. And I think some of that is because that's how I felt. You know, I understand those feelings of both knowing you're supposed to get something out there into the world and being afraid to step out there and be seen, and especially to be seen in a certain way, because I think a lot of people who really are here to be of service and care about the difference they make in the world don't want to come across as sleazy or salesy or pushy. That's not what it's about. And so a lot of the work that I do is actually reframing that for clients and helping people see from a different perspective that marketing doesn't have to be about blasting people who don't want to hear about you with details about your business. And sales calls don't have to be pushing somebody to say yes. It should really be about finding the right people who want to come and learn from you or find out more about what you do, and just giving them an opportunity to say yes. And you do have to put yourself out there because they've got to know you exist before they can say yes to working with you. If nobody knows you exist, they can't say yes.
And that's what I call doing your part, because you can do the manifestation rituals, you can do the intention setting, you can do the visualization.
Yep.
You get to put your human physical parts in there too. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Yeah. There are some things that are good to wait for. There are other things that are not good to wait for. And when
Yes.
people are waiting on you, they're waiting to find you for you to solve their problem and help them. That's not good to keep them waiting. You want to get out there and be there to help them. So that's what I help clients do.
Well, I love it. And it's certainly helping me and so many other amazing change makers. What else would you like to share with our viewers, beautiful?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think one thing that I would say, as far as just advice to anyone who's really looking at how to blend some sort of spiritual practice or the spiritual side of themselves with business, is don't be afraid to be yourself. I see too many people kind of think they've got to put themselves inside a box and they've got to lead with something that's very tactical or very businessy, when really what will attract people to you is you just showing up as yourself. You letting your personality show and saying, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I can help you. So don't be afraid to really show up as yourself, would be the biggest thing that I would say.
And it lends so much to being genuine and authentic and allowing your integrity to just shine through.
Yeah, you don't have to be afraid of marketing or sales or business as long as you stay true to yourself. Because those lines that you're worried about crossing, or the lines that you're worried somebody might think you crossed, as long as you stay on track with who you are, you know you're not going to cross those lines and you're not going to come off the way that you're afraid of coming off. And I think that's one of the biggest things that sometimes we worry about, but we don't really need to.
There was something you said it twice, or the word twice, and I really feel nudged to bring this up. We talk about being of service. Does not mean you have to give it away. It does not mean you don't value everything you bring with you and continue to learn along the way.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny because I grew up in a very conservative Christian family, and it was very much that missionary mindset of, well, if you're here to serve, then why don't you do it for free? And I remember my dad used to remind people that there's a scripture in the Bible that says the workman is worthy of his hire. And that was one of those things that was like, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, even a religion that is as service focused as Christianity has that in their tenets, reminding people, hey, somebody who's doing the work deserves to get paid for it. And first of all, there is absolutely value in what each of us bring that we deserve to be paid for. But second of all, and maybe even more important, when you don't charge people for what you do and you don't value it, they don't get value from it. This was something that was really hard for me to come around to. It was really hard for me, and I would get so frustrated working with clients or people coming to me free for advice, and I would spend hours like pouring my heart into here's what you can do next to turn things around in your business, and they wouldn't do anything with it. Nothing, not take a single step. And it took a business coach kind of smacking me on the side of the head and going, they don't value what they get for free. And it's so easy to think we're doing someone a service when we give it away, but we're not, because they won't value it until they invest something in it. And when they invest something in it, then they actually feel responsible to take action and go do what they need to do. And that was a huge shift for me quite a few years ago to make and go, okay, me giving this away free isn't actually of service. It's not actually helping the person. They're just going to stay even more stuck. So getting some sort of value commitment from people to where they're bought in makes a huge difference in them actually getting a result from what we do and what we share.
I totally agree. And there's one piece I'd like to add to that. At some point, we healers or readers or however you want to label yourself, if you're not getting value from what you do in the form of financial abundance and prosperity and payments and whatever, at some point you're going to resent it. You're going to resent yourself and then the people who are there for free.
Yeah.
And this isn't a judgment. It's not a poo-poo on anyone. It's just that's how it works, because then we feel like we're giving, and getting little to nothing back. And it's like, okay, so I'm here doing this, and when is it my turn? Well, it's your turn when you start turning it around and valuing yourself enough to stop doing everything for free.
Absolutely. And, that's something that it's so easy to see the energetic circle that happens in other things. And sometimes we forget that has to happen with business too. When we pour value into something, it has to bring value back. Otherwise, you end up in a really bad cycle where you just end up drained, like you said, resentful, and you can't continue to help people from a place like that. You aren't in a strong position where you're full, where you are energetically able to continue giving to people. That's hugely important.
Well, we could talk another. It's huge. And maybe we can talk about that piece the next time.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a whole other conversation around being able to receive.
Yes.
I think that's where a lot of us get stuck, is the idea of being able to receive value for what we give out, because for whatever reason, we don't feel worthy of it. And
totally agree.
That's a whole nother level of that self-growth that you have to go through to succeed in business.
So promise you'll come back?
Absolutely.
On that note, please tell our viewers, beautiful, where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me at michelleshaeffer.com. It's Michelle with 2 L's, SHAEFFER.com.
And on social media?
Everywhere. Yes.
Literally, yes.
Find me on social media. Same name. Just look me up. You'll find me there. You can also find my podcast. It's theartofgivingadamn.com. And you can find Terry Marie's interview with me as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This is a pure delight. We have been working behind the scenes to get this together a long time. And I'm just very grateful, and I'm honored that you have had the time and you've been so open. So thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. And I'm excited to finally get this episode out there. I hope that people found value in it and took away a few things that will help them moving forward in their business.
Me too. Thank you so much, beautiful. And you, beautiful soul, thank you for being here. Whether you're now or some point in the future, do stop by angeldreamteam.com and get your free gift, become a mover and shaker of your reality. So until next time, follow your inner GPS, your own inner guided purpose soul path. Bye-bye for now.